Hi, and welcome to the Bible Tribe with Seeing Deep Ministries, where we see deep in a shallow world and overcome the battles of the mind with the Word of God. Relationships are hard. Pride and offenses separate us. Ultimately, how we love one another is a witness to the world and either honors or dishonors Jesus. A reading in the book of Malachi, and the verse of the day is Malachi 2, verse 10. Do we not all have one Father? Is it not one God who has created us? Why do we deal treacherously, each against his brother, so as to profane the covenant of our fathers? In context, Malachi wrote to the Israelites, specifically the exiles some 100 years after their initial return, after the days of Zechariah and Haggai. Malachi served God either at the time of Nehemiah or immediately after that book ended. Satan is crafty at provoking man in his pride to be offended by others and to harbor that offense to the point of mistreating others. Malachi is preaching to the choir, so to speak. They ought to have known better, but were no different than the surrounding nations in how they treated one another. Despite God's people's sins against God and others, God still loved them. But his love was not going to cause him to wink at their sin, rather to deal with their sins in hope of restoration. Today in the church, do we see similar things? How do believers treat one another when they get offended? Do we shun and refuse to forgive? How we treat one another in the house of God is a witness to the world and reveals our treatment of God as well. We see this principle in Matthew 25:40. Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me. And again in Matthew 7:12. So in everything do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. I chose the key word treacherously, which is the Hebrew word bagad, and means to act treacherously, deceitfully, unfaithfully, to offend. Thought of the day. How we treat others is how we treat God. Application. Our treatment of others directly resembles what we think of God, because each person is made in his image. Love one another well, all for the glory of God. Go with God and his precious word, friends. Tune in tomorrow as we head back into the book of Psalms.